Okay, hi everyone, welcome to Meetup Live. Go ahead and drop in the chat where you're tuning in from. My name's Joey and I'm tuning in from New York City. All right, we'll just give it a few more minutes before we get started. All right, we're going to get started in about 1 minute. Get a few more people to join us here. Okay, hi everyone and welcome to Meetup Live. My name is Joey and I'm the Office Experience Specialist at Meetup. Thank you for joining us for today's live demo, Healthy Snacks with Kelley Williamson. And welcome to our special guest, Kelley Williamson. Today, Kelley's going to teach us how to make Italian quesadillas, potato nachos, and chocolate bites. You can follow along with Kelley if you'd like, or you can just sit back and enjoy. Kelley will also share pointers for those that are interested in hosting their own online cooking events and answer your questions. But first, I'd like to go over the guidelines and agenda. So this event will be recorded, however, you will not appear in video. Everybody will be muted so that we can hear Kelley's demo. And if you have questions, please submit them in the Q&A feature at the bottom of your screen. For our agenda, we'll do a quick intro, and then we'll dive into our live demo with Kelley, and then we'll have a Q&A at the end. Allow me to introduce Kelley Williamson. Kelley is a plant-based chef and certified Food for Life instructor through Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine, specializing in low-fat, plant-based vegan cooking under the name Plant-Based Kitchen. Kelley focuses on facilitating cooking classes, offering personal chef services, and sharing food information, recipes, and ideas through all of the classes that she teaches. Kelley has taught over 6,000 individuals on plant-based nutrition and has a passion for helping people heal through food. Kelley has classes at Tagawa Gardens, Whole Foods, among others, and her own Cook With Me cooking school. Take it away, Kelley.
Thank you, Joey. Very much appreciate it. Welcome, everybody. We're going to go ahead and get started because we have just a few short time and stuff to be able to go through all the recipes. So we're going to actually, just like what Joey said, we're going to do Italian quesadillas, which we'll start with first. Then we'll do energy bites, which are going to taste like almond joys. They're absolutely wonderful. Guarantee when you make them up, they probably will not make it to the freezer. And then we're going to do potato nachos, but I actually call them potachos. So we kind of merge it a little bit together. So Italian quesadillas, so if you've got the recipe, follow along, because I'm going to follow through the steps just to make sure that we're, keep me honest, because if once you start kind of cooking and you're used to cooking through things, you sometimes miss steps. So we'll try to make sure we don't do that. So one of the things that I did, just because we only have 35 minutes together, I actually caramelized the onions. When I caramelize onions, I use either three things. I'll use either white wine, I'll use vegetable broth or stock, or I'll use water. But most of the time and stuff, I do vegetable broth. And so you can see the caramelized onions. They look like they're caramelized onions, but there's no oil. One of the things that I don't use is oil, and a lot of it's because of health reasons. So I did these last night. They took about 20 minutes to do, but they look just like caramelized onions, and they taste just like caramelized onions. All right, so I've got those done. So I've already got that step ready, because I figured you probably didn't want to watch me 20 minutes stirring the onion. So those are ready to go. So we're going to do the bean spread next. So the bean spread is going to go into a food processor. So I've got regular white beans. You could use like navy beans, cannellini beans, whatever you want to use. Just drop them in your food processor. If you don't have a food processor and you don't have a lot of room, then feel free to use like just a potato masher. It'll be a little chunkier, still good though. Then we're going to do garlic. So regular just cloves of garlic, already chopped up, ready to go. As you can see, when I'm doing cooking classes, you get everything prepped and ready to go. Then we have lemon juice. And then we have, these are sun-dried tomatoes. So I use sun-dried tomatoes that are not in oil. So I get them in these little packets like this, so that you can get these at most of the stores. And I love the ones that they're actually called smoked. The reason why is they give this really nice aroma of smoked, and they put really, really good flavors in it. So all I did is just take the sun-dried tomatoes, because they are very hard and chewy. I put them in water and just let them soak, and then they expand, which is really nice. So one of the things I recommend, tips and tricks when you're cooking, when you do these sun-dried tomatoes in the water, keep the water, because it has all that smoky sun-dried flavor, and put it into a soup. So reuse it. Don't throw it away. All right, so food processor, everything's in there. Turn it on for a second. If you need a little bit more moisture, then feel free just to add a little bit of the sun-dried tomato water, or you can just add some regular water or vegetable broth. That way it gets a little bit more creamier. And a lot of times that just depends on your beans. So sometimes the beans, depending on if they're in their can, they'll actually be, some of them will be really dry, even though you've got the moisture in it. So, quick. Perfect. All right, throw that over there. So on a food processor, really quick, one of the things it always has in the food processor is a little hole at the bottom, which is actually where the blade fits. When you're getting ready to actually make something, and you're getting maybe ready to dump it out into a bowl, put your finger in that hole there. That holds the blade in place. So it's when you're churning something like this and you're actually getting all the ingredients out, you're not going to worry about the blade popping into something that's hot and boiling and it gets all over you. So little tip and trick. So that is ready to go. All right, so now we're going to take, I've got whole wheat tortillas. I'm going to actually take 2 of them. You could use flour, white flour. You could use corn tortillas, whatever is your favorite. It really doesn't matter. These are just nice, just burrito size that I use, but you can use smaller or larger depending on how many you want. So these are really good. So you just take them like this, grab a knife, or if you've got like a spatula or something that you can use that also. So I'm just going to grab some of this bean mixture, and it's a really pretty color because of the sun-dried tomatoes. So you're going to spread it on. And one of the things when you're thinking through this recipe, there's many different things that you could put into this as the Italian quesadillas. So you could actually put like artichoke hearts, or you could put, more basil, or you could put some of the red pepper spices, anything like that. It's completely up to you. And once you have the recipes, or if you've already downloaded the recipes, you can add as many things as you want to make it your flavor and make it your recipe for your family or just for you. All right, so you spread it. What you don't want to do is you don't want to take it all the way to the end. The reason why it just leaks out, but up to you if you want to do that or not. So I try to put about as, just a nice thin layer, but enough to where if you bite through it, it's not just really thin, but it gives you a little bit of that flavor. So You'll notice and stuff when I make this will make, I said, like 3 to 4 servings. This will make 3 to 4 of these large ones. Or if you don't want to use it, you can actually use this with chips, or you can use vegetables, whatever you want. This is a really good, it's almost like a hummus. All right, so that is on there. So for the bean mixture, we actually have a little bit of chopped parsley. I've got some big leaves because I'll use it for decoration. If you don't like parsley, if you don't like fresh parsley, you can use dried parsley. Or if you don't like parsley, use one of your other favorite herbs. It's completely up to you what you'd like to do, and it's based on your flavor profile. So just a little bit, spread it around, make it pretty. And then of course, if you're Italian, you gotta have basil. So basil, all I did, I just took the leaves, I rolled them up, and then I just did a chiffonade on it, which is just a real thin cut. So when you get the pieces, after you've done the cut, they look like this. So nice, like kind of like little ribbon streamers, which are really pretty. And just add that on there. If you don't have fresh basil or don't want to buy fresh basil, then go ahead and use dried basil. So if you're thinking about like, well, how much do I use? Just put it to taste. So just sprinkle it on and add that, and then you could add some oregano. You could add like the crushed red peppers. I mean, whatever you would like to do. There's all kinds of chili peppers, jalapenos, everything that you could add into this to make it really nice. Okay. All right, so we've got everything on there. And then we've got the avocados. Let me put this to the side. So avocados, of course, got the regular avocado. Whoops, as I throw it onto the side. The cool thing about avocados is there's such a thing as an avocado keeper. You can actually get this on Amazon. So if you've not seen these are really nice. So if you've cut an avocado in half, which a lot of us do, because eating a whole avocado is a lot of calories, you take the side with a pit and you just put it right there. And then you give it a little kind of a rubber wrap. That's the way to put it. And the cool thing about it, you put that back in the fridge and it keeps for 2-3 days. Of course, you're going to get a little oxidation on the sides and stuff, but you just chop that off, you know, just kind of do like a light knife cut, and then you've got your avocado that's kept versus getting all brown and mushy. So I will leave that there for now. Those are like, for a set, $10 on Amazon. All right, so I've got my avocado, so I just put a nice spoon around it. Flip it over. You could do chunks, you can do slices, whatever you'd like to do. I'm actually just going to do slices. So you just do nice little slices. Or you could do thin, you could do really thick slices. Completely up to you what you want to do. So you just put those on, and you could put them all over, or you could put just a few depending on what you're looking for. I'm going to actually put quite a few like that. So when I'm doing the quesadilla right now, that's what it looks like. So this would be a really pretty time too if you wanted to put a little bit more sun-dried tomatoes, because it'll add some red. You could add some roasted red peppers, all these different flavor profiles. All right, so you've got the avocado, got everything in there. Take your other side, put that on top. Just kind of press down a little bit because then it'll adhere to the avocado and a little bit of that. And then I'm using an induction burner, so I'm not turned around for you guys. I'm gonna let that heat for just a second. Move the avocado over, because I'll use that in a little bit. And then you just place this, just like you normally do quesadillas, right in your hot pan and let that set for a few minutes. So if you think about it, we just make quesadillas in just a few minutes. You could add, you know, if you're looking for something else, you want some of the ooey gooey, you can add your favorite cheese, you can add your favorite plant-based cheese, whatever you want to do with that. That is completely up to you. I also have my favorite marinara sauce. So you could use the extra hummus or you could use marinara sauce. So my favorite, of course, is 365, which is a Whole Foods or a Meal Plan. I've got that heated up over on the side because there's nothing better than having a quesadilla and dipping it, like especially if you have a little bit of extra avocado and marinara sauce. It's great. And a lot of times with the marinara sauces that I have, a lot of times what I'll end up doing is I'll end up putting like more garlic and more onions in it so that it's real chunky and really good. Okay, so I'll just let that kind of go for a few minutes. All right, so energy bites. So let me clean up just a little bit here. So these are my favorite. I have done a lot of different like plants, like different, you know, like where you can go and you can go to these seminars or you can go to these different places. So like Veg Fest. And so you can go there and you get to try all little samples and then people talk to you about what they're doing and all that. every time I've done Veg Fest, I've made these energy bites, and it's funny because people that are going around filming and things like that, they always come back every year. They're like, "Where's the energy bites?" These are so easy to make, and the good thing about them too is they taste like Almond Joys. And a lot of people are like, "Nah, no way." You know, it doesn't have like all the gooey stuff in it and everything like that. They are really, really good. And the nice thing about it is I'm going to give you this recipe, and it's base. So think about it as these are like the main ingredients that you want to put in there. You could leave the chocolate out, so the cocoa powder. You could leave that out if you don't want to do that, and you could add maybe some more coconut, or you could add some nuts, or you could add, you know, dried fruit, all those kind of things. So just, and if you want like, if you like chocolate and fruit, you could just leave the chocolate in. And then you could do like a peanut butter powder. So play with it when you get this, when you start making these. And then a lot of times what I'll end up doing is these freeze really, really well. So when you roll up the ball, so what you want to do is, you know, put them on like a parchment lined baking sheet, put them in the freezer, let them freeze, and then put them into a bag or, you know, whatever kind of container you want. And the cool thing about it is most of the time when you make these, they usually don't end up in the freezer, but they are great bites for kids. They're great bites just for that, you know, that 3 o'clock kind of craving. And the nice thing about it too is they're really, really healthy. All right, so I've got 1 cup of oats. So, you know, of course, gluten-free, so you can get all kinds of different oats. I use the rolled oats. Don't use the quick oats. And the reason why is the quick oats that only take about a minute, they tend to get really kind of mushy. So you want to use the really chunky rolled oats. So dump that in. And then you've got the coconut. So just regular coconut that you want to use. So you could use flake, you could use the kind of more of the ground, whatever you like. There's different types that you can use. I've used all different types, and sometimes when I was making for Veg Fest, I had to make about 2,500 to 3,000 for the 2 days that we were there. So that's a lot of making this and rolling it, and you, of course, the stores ran out of coconut, so I just added all kinds of different kinds. And then in this one, we have maple syrup, we have agave. So agave is a replacement for, if you're plant-based, it's a replacement for honey. So because of bees and, you know, animals and things like that. So agave you can buy in most of the stores. I'll flip this over real quick. You can get like the dark color or the other color, but you could use, you know, if you don't want to use agave and you don't want to use honey, use more maple syrup, or use like monk fruit sweetener, or, you know, the brown sugar, whatever you want to do. That's for you. And let me just make sure that I'm not burning. Right. So already, I've already got one side. I'll kind of hold a little bit. I'll hold it up so cameraman can actually capture it. So I've got one side that's all nice and crusty and ready to go, and I flipped it to the other side. It's almost like making those. Remember those toasted peanut butter or toasted cheese sandwiches that Mom used to do a long time ago? We just need tomato soup or something with it. All right, so we've got coconut in there. So like I said, the maple syrup, you can use extra maple syrup. You can use whatever kind of flavoring that you want. You want to make sure that what you put in there has moisture. And the reason why is because you want to you want to be able to mix everything up, which I'm going to put gloves on here in a second. And then I've got cocoa powder. That adds the chocolate. That's for the Almond Joy. And then the vanilla I already had in mixed with the maple syrup. All right, so gloves. Just because I figure it'll take me a lot longer to wash my hands if I don't do the gloves really quick just to mix it up. But if you're at home, hands. I do this with salads and everything else. The other thing I wanted to let you know is there's a lot of times people don't want to use vanilla because of the alcohol content in it. There is such a thing now as vanilla powder. So you can buy this at most of your bulk stores, and so you can just use the vanilla powder. Gives you the flavor of vanilla, but not the alcohol. That's just okay. All right, so just kind of get in there. You can tell I kind of flipped over a little bit, kind of gets all over the place. Get that, make sure you get the maple syrup and the agave and the vanilla and everything else really mixed in there. So you can tell, very messy. So when you're ready to roll them, all you're doing is you just grab one, and you want to make it like a bite-sized type of piece. They'll act like they don't want to stick together a little bit, but just kind of roll back and forth in your hands, or don't even worry about that. You could actually put it into a dish and just spread it out, and then put it in the freezer, and then cut into pieces. But this is really nice. I'm going to actually take one glove off. I'll show you here. So to make it pretty, of course. All right, one hand's gonna have to get in here. You just kind of start rolling them up, put them in there, because you can eat these right now. And I guarantee you, when you try them, they taste like Almond Joys. So this recipe probably, you know, if I make smaller ones, and I kind of cut back a little bit on the actual, because I have some in the freezer already, the actual ingredients, it'll actually make anywhere between, depending on if you do small ones, probably 50, but if you do large ones, probably 20 to 25. But if you think about it, how nice. You get 25 to 50 energy bites in your freezer that are ready to go, that you can eat at any time. And then, like I said, play with the recipe. Don't add the chocolate or add peanut butter powder if you wanted to into this. And then you've got all these different flavors. All right, move this out of the way. They smell delicious because you're going to start smelling like the maple syrup and everything else that's in there. Right, that out of the way. So if I was going to do something like this, so to show you and stuff, I could actually put like some dried fruit. I could do some dried nuts. I could do like some extra coconut, whatever you would like to make it pretty. But right there is like a quarter recipe of the energy bites, and these are ready to go. You're ready to eat. You can put them in little cupcake containers to keep them all separate. Whatever you do, but these freeze really, really well. And they always talk about. Remember back when they say like the Girl Scout cookies and things like that. Put them in the freezer and then you can keep them longer. But if you've ever tried a frozen candy bar or a frozen cookie, they're really, really good frozen because you can kind of chew on them. And kids, we've tried these. We actually did it was like a healthy, kind of like a ninja thing for kids, of course. And we actually had these for the kids, and then we actually had some things they could roll in, like extra coconut. It was funny. We had a 18-month-old that came up, and actually probably ate, with their parents and stuff, probably ate 20 of them. And then I ended up sending like 35 of them home so they could freeze them for the kid, which was really fun. Okay, let me make sure we're good. And you can tell they are messy because I do have energy bite pieces all over the place, but they are worth it. Believe me, they are worth it. And then when you're done, but just like with this too, you could actually roll in more coconut, which will even make it even prettier. So those are ready to go. Those are going to be dessert later. Okay, so we've got the quesadilla. Let me grab that out. Nice and crispy on the edges, nice and crispy in the middle. I'm going to turn this off and unplug it so you don't have to hear all the noise. All right, so let me grab. So I have the marinara sauce. That's already been heating up, so I'll turn the stove off. So just add your favorite marinara sauce. You could make your own homemade if you wanted to. That's very easy to do. If anybody's looking for a recipe for homemade marinara, happy to share. But this one, like I said, is just a store-bought. I didn't add anything extra to it because it's quite chunky, but if you wanted to, extra garlic, extra like shallots or onions or any of those kind of things would be really good. And if you have a bunch of like maybe fresh basil left over, chop that up and put this in here too. All right, so got that. So I have a couple leaves from the basil. It's all about, eye candy. So one of the things I always do is make sure when you're making something, so I'll give you a secret. If it's for Jerry and I here at home, and he's behind the camera, it might stay in the pan. And it might just go with, a hot pad or something like that on the stove. It doesn't have to be fancy. But when I'm making things for like classes or friends and family and stuff, then I'll make it a little pretty like that. Okay, so you've got just a regular quesadilla. I'm sure you guys are used to it. Maybe all the different restaurants have them. So all you're doing is just use, a sharp knife. and you want to kind of cut it just in like the triangles, because that's usually how you see it. But if you wanted to do it more like in squares or little pieces, you can do that too. I like the triangles. And make sure you really get your knife in there, because of course it doesn't always like to cut through, as you can tell. So just pull it apart a little bit. So here is, and you can, like I said, you can make this as thick or as thin as you want. There, right there, you can see the quesadilla, so the filling that's in the middle. Yummy, all the yumminess. So plate them. Just make sure. Perfect. I'll do that one that way, and we'll do this one this way. Pull that up. So then I have all this nice avocado. Can't go waste. Nothing worse than wasting avocado. And it's kind of funny. I had a class one time, and it was doing a demo class, and I had the avocado, and when I was doing it, I took the actual the pit, and it was in a trash can that was right next to me. And so I actually just took the pit right out of it because I wasn't going to use it. I threw it in the trash can. I had a lady in the front. It was really funny. She's like, ah, she said, because there's so much avocado that's still on the pit. She almost jumped out of her seat and stuff to go grab it. It was so funny. All right, then I've got a little bit of extra basil. I'm really good about trying to make sure there's no waste. So just to have all the good ones. And then you can put the extra parsley if you wanted to. Got a couple of leaves, so I'll just kind of put a little bit of leaf there. You know what I missed? Onions. All right, so since I missed those and they're actually still warm, I'm going to put those on top. See, you have to keep me honest. So I'll get going, and then I'll forget to put something into that. So I'll just add that a little bit on the top. Boom. And that. We added, because everybody's going to want a fork. Oh, sorry. There is Italian quesadillas. That's one of the tips I'll give you when you're home and you have animals. That can happen. Don't those look good? Jerry's like, lunch. All right, so let me pull this off to the side. So we've got those two. The potatoes. All right, so we have a couple things that we're going to do. Here is my potatoes, all plated up and ready to go here. So let me drain the water off. I cut the potatoes a little bit earlier. So size of potato, usually when they say like medium to large potatoes, is about that big. So not a big deal. So I just did thin little slices. You could do them by hand, or you can do them on a mandolin, whichever you'd like to do. And then I just put them in water until I needed them, just to make sure. All right, so I have got a bowl. So I've got a bowl here. So one of the things that you're going to do is you've got all these different spices. So I'm going to pull out the recipe, keep everybody honest. So you've got garlic powder, you've got nutritional yeast, and you've got smoked paprika. Smoked paprika, if you've never used it, I highly recommend it. I end up, there's a shop here that's called Savory Spice in Denver. I use their spices, and the reason why is they ground everything fresh, and it's all in a warehouse. And so everything comes right from the warehouse right into their shops. The sweet smoked paprika, let me show you what it looks like. So sweet smoked Spanish paprika is phenomenal. It has, as you can tell, I like the sun-dried tomatoes that have a little bit of the smoked. It just gives this really nice just flavor. It just kind of like sits at the back of your tongue, and you get that smokiness, and it just makes everything better. So instead of using regular paprika, I always use the sweet. So it's a sweet smoked Spanish paprika. And you can Savory Spices will actually ship all over I think they ship all over the United States, but they are really, really good. And the cool thing that what I like about them is I keep the jar, and then I buy everything into like bags, and then I just keep refilling jars. So instead of spending like $8 for this jar, once I refill it, I'm spending like $2 or $3, which is really nice. So I'll just put that there. So I've got garlic powder in here. I have the smoked paprika and nutritional yeast. So nutritional yeast, you can use regular cheese. You can use the plant-based cheese, whatever you want to do. I use nutritional yeast, and if you look at it in this jar, and you can tell I keep it all over the place. It looks like fish flakes. So it's kind of like fish food is what it reminds me of when we had an aquarium when we were kids. It is really, really good. It actually gives, like when you're making things that are plant-based, you want that cheese flavor. This is what gives the cheese flavor. So if I'm making a ricotta and it says maybe, if it says like, it's like a quarter cup, I always add like a cup. And the reason why is because I want it to really look like cheese and taste like cheese. I also, if you ever get nutritional yeast, which is, it's really healthy, and it's a really good substitute for that, you can actually put this on popcorn. So you do microwave popcorn, put nutritional yeast, a little bit of salt and some pepper. It's wonderful. So that's nutritional yeast that I use for the cheese replacement. And then if I make like a cashew cheese or something, I will use the nutritional yeast to give that flavor. So as you can see, I keep a lot of it. You can buy, Bragg's has nutritional yeast, or you can buy it in bulk at most of your natural stores, your natural grocers, those type of things. So, all right, so I'm gonna so I have all the spices, so I just dump those in a bowl. So you can tell they're all there, nutritional yeast, everything else. I have a tendency, like I said, I will actually put more nutritional yeast than most of my recipes ask for. But one of the things that, as a tip, what I recommend, when you got the recipes, I don't even care if they're mine, you just see me cook everything. One of the things that you want to do is if it says add a tablespoon of something, add like a teaspoon or add like a quarter teaspoon. Start with your low on your spices and then go up and add more based on your taste palette. If you add everything and all of a sudden you're not a fan of basil or you're not a fan of like garlic powder, then a lot of times what ends up happening, of course, is the recipe gets thrown away. So I don't want you to throw away recipes. So go low on spices, go way low, like 1/8 of a teaspoon, 1/4 of a teaspoon, and then add to it. You can always add, you can't take away. All right, so I've got this going. So I have my potatoes, they're all nice and sliced and they're ready to go. So all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take the spice mix and I'm gonna add that to the potatoes. And since the potatoes were a little wet, they'll actually pick up the spices really nice. And this is where if you wanted to add salt and pepper, you could add that. I tend to wait until after it's all done to figure out if I need some extra salt and pepper. So I just kind of mix it in, get your hands in there. And you'll notice like it's already, like the potatoes already starting to pick up the spices. So you'll get this really nice toasty look on them when you put them in the oven. So just kind of keep messing around with them. Rub. That's what I do with my salads too. One of the things that when I do salads, I do dressings, especially since I don't have the oil component in it. I get in there with my hands and I massage in dressings. And I always do that because then that way I don't have this full like balsamic or anything that is just sticking to the bottom. There's nothing worse than that. So you massage in the dressing, you use a lot less, but you also make sure you get it all through the lettuce and the vegetables and everything else or the fruit that you cut in there. Okay, so that looks pretty good. Your paprika will take on a really nice color. You could also add turmeric. So if you want to do that, but be careful when you're adding turmeric to anything. You will tend to, if it spills over and you use like a white towel or it gets on your cutting board, it will stain. And it takes quite a bit of while and stuff to get the stain out, even with like lemon and things like that. So I've got many towels that are yellow in color, even with bleach. Okay, so that's it. So they just look like that. And then all you do is you just lay them on a parchment lined baking sheet. Just lay them out. And you'll notice this is just one potato. So the medium potato that I showed you a little bit earlier. So on this one, you probably with the actual, if you get a little bit extra spice, just kind of mix it up. You'll notice and stuff that it gives you quite a bit of potatoes. What I always do and what I recommend, make more, make extra. Because you could always put them in the refrigerator and then the next day, so if you kind of like put them like that, the next day you could actually just heat them up. And then you could add all your corn and your black beans and everything else on it. Or something completely different. Ketchup. And so what I did, so instead of having you guys watch and we have a little ticking clock going, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, I've actually already cooked the potatoes. So I'm going to put these over to the side. These will be for later. And, you know, there's always extra spices, so feel free to always kind of scrape those out, put them on the potatoes. All right, so now so we got the potatoes going, 350 oven, baking sheet, depending on your oven. So 350, 375, you're probably about like 5-10 minutes into them, check them, flip them. Because a lot of times and stuff, you'll start seeing where they're browning on there. And so you want to flip to the other side because the parchment, a lot of times the parchment paper, a lot of times will hold the moisture. So it's kind of nice to make sure you get it toasted on both sides. So just flip them really quick and then watch them for about another 10 minutes. It depends on your oven. It could go, if you get a convection oven, I could get it done in 20 minutes, but in a regular oven, you're probably close to 30. So kind of watch it about every 5-10 minutes just to make sure so you don't burn your potatoes. Nothing worse. All right, so we've got tomatoes. So fresh cherry tomatoes. You could use Roma tomatoes, whatever you've got in your refrigerator, or if you've got a whole bunch in your garden, because we know that gardens are ready for that. You just add that into the bowl. I just took little cherry tomatoes and I cut them in 4s. So they're more bite-sized pieces. And then you got that in there, tomatoes, then you've got onions. So red onions, it actually on the recipe, it says a half of a red onion. I use a little bit less because right now the onions, and I don't know if it's because of COVID or just different times of the year, but they're really, really strong. Like when I cut into this red onion here, it's like instant tears. So I needed almost like those onion goggles or something. So I use a lot less just because I didn't want to overpower what I'm trying to make. So I probably won't even put all of those on there, but you can always add more red onion for the prettiness and stuff after it's all said and done. And then you've got the jalapenos. So same thing, the jalapenos right now are very, they're like almost like burn your eyes and things. So I used a half of a jalapeno. I'm just going to put a little bit in for the color, and then you can always add, like I said, always add more. Hard to take away. All right, then you got lemon juice. So same thing, using lemon juice. If you wanted to use lime juice, you could do that also. And then the cilantro. So I'm going to put just a little bit of cilantro. We tend not to be fans of cilantro. I think I have that, what do they say, that gene of it tastes like soap and it smells like soap. So I'm just going to put just a little bit in. But if you love cilantro and you want to use the whole bunch, it's always funny. And when I do my Cook With Me cooking classes, I always have, you know, tons of jars with all the fresh herbs and, you know, there's the cilantro and the basil and everything else. I get everybody to always take home the cilantro because I know that if it goes home with me, not going to be used. So just kind of mix that up. If you wanted to add some avocado to it, you wanted to add other flavors, or if you even want to just add some of your favorite salsa to it, just to make it even a little bit creamier, you could definitely do that. So that's all it is. So it's just a regular, you know, just quick salsa. Tastes good. It's got all the good flavors in it. So I'll put that to the side. All right, and then I got the potato slices. And the good thing is I actually made a lot. I made a lot of the potato slices just because we know what's going to be lunch here soon. So let me put these here for a second. And you'll notice too, when I'm actually prepping, I just take some of my baking sheets. I'll put all this off the side because we need to pretty. I just take baking sheets, and then you can actually take my parchment paper, or these are kind of fun. These are like sandwich wrappers that you can get. So if you want to, you know, wrap up like a hero or something, you got this. So I just put it on there for color. But it's nice when I'm doing the cooking classes, I bring the tray over and there's the whole entire dish that I need to make. So that's all ready to go. Okay, cutting board. All right, so we've got the salsa made. We've got the quesadilla that's ready to go. Actually, just pretty. I always call it eye candy. Because one of the things that, especially like with me, when I see something and it looks good, that's when you really want to eat it. If it doesn't look good, you're kind of like, I'll skip it. So the prettier you make things, the more your family and you're going to want to eat it. Okay, so I've got the potatoes. Pretty cool down now. So they look like this. So there's some nice brown ones that are crispy. There's some thicker ones, you know, depending on your oven and depending on, you know, how long that you let them cook, you can get all kinds of different flavors. This is my favorite. I love them where they're crispy and it's almost like a potato chip. So to me, if I did them all crispy, I'd be happy. Jerry tends to prefer, and others I cook for, tends to like a little bit soft. So it's more of the chewy. The nice thing about even doing this, even if you don't put it in a bowl, you can use these as like scoops or dippers. You could use it also in your hummus, so all kinds of things. So I recommend don't just do one potato, do like 4 or 5 potatoes and have these ready to go. All right, let's put that there. So I'm gonna build this for you. All right, just a pretty bowl. Just a regular white bowl. So you just start out, and this, you can build this however you want. So sometimes, with a bowl that's a little bit round like this, it'll tend to, like, things will scoot back down. So just kind of work with it and do just like what I'm doing here, just kind of rolling them around. You could also start, if you wanted to, you could put the black beans and the corn and everything else in the middle, and then actually do the potatoes around it, which would make it a little bit easier. So let me just do that. So I've got the black beans. You could put these on and just put them just exactly like this. You can mash them up, but I'm actually going to add the corn. And the cool thing about corn right now, it's all in the stores, and you can get tons of corn. So really good to use the fresh ears if you don't want to have to do that and go through the process of cleaning them up. Feel free just to grab, just frozen corn, canned corn, all those type of things. So I'm just going to mix it up just because I think it's prettier. And then take your bowl, take this bowl. So it's almost like making an upside down cake. Put it over. That just keeps it easy from, from mine, like just exactly what I did. Runaway corn and black beans. Over there. It just makes a nice little pile. And then I'm going to put, a little bit of the red onion. Just because I like the color, I like the purple, I like the different, like I said, eye candy. Just makes it look really nice. Okay. Add a little bit of the jalapeno, just a little bit, so I don't, like the mouth doesn't become on fire. This would be the place where you could add Calabrian chilies, everything else, anything else, the flavors that you want. You could actually add, like mix in some salsa, different flavors. You could add a whole bunch of, like a ring around the black beans and the corn as far as the cilantro. So I'm going to grab, so let me just go ahead and add, let's do the potatoes. When I do this for class, I usually do this for my cook with me classes, and the reason why I do it is when everybody comes in, I always start out with an appetizer. This one I'll make like big trays, so big old huge trays because I have a convection oven there. And what I'll do is I'll make probably 15 to 20 potatoes. I'll slice them up like this, and then I'll put them in a big pile, like a cute cutting board or a big bowl. And then with that stuff, then I'll make all the side dishes, and everybody can add whatever they'd like to do. So you just add all these in. It's hard not to want to grab one of the chips. But you could also, a cool way to do this is if you've got sweet potatoes going on at home right now, add sweet potatoes too, because then you get that color where you've got purple potatoes. So you can add all those different things that you want. Okay, that's all in there. Let me add the salsa. Make sure you grab some of the lemon juice or lime juice if you don't want to do lemon. It smells so good. All right, and then I've got a little bit of cilantro. And 2 tomatoes. Gotta have the red. So, let me show you. Oops, right away. You could actually add some of the caramelized onions in there too. But if you look at this, what do you think? Doesn't that look delicious? This is like, you could share with somebody if you wanted to. I'll have to think about whether or not I'm going to share with Jerry, but I actually have a whole other pan of the potato slices in there. But doesn't that look beautiful? This is one of those things like on a Saturday, whatever, you could actually add 2 like hash browns on the bottom and almost make it a breakfast item, which would be phenomenal. So if you look at everything we've done, we've got potatoes, potato nachos, yum, my favorite. And a favorite, if you're doing cooking classes, this is a favorite, especially face-to-face. People love these. They will keep coming back all during your class to eat these. Then we have Italian quesadillas with the marinara sauce. And they're still warm. Put that there. And then energy bites that taste like Almond Joys. I guarantee you, they taste like Almond Joys. All right, there is 3 quick recipes, healthy recipes. Like I said, when you get these home and you start making things, add your special ingredients to it, and then you can always let me know, like, hey, I added some roasted red pepper and Italian quesadillas. Love to hear what you guys add. Make it your own. You got the recipes now. Make it your own. Make it for your own flavor palette, but also make it for your family. So, but I guarantee you, you put these out, these will not last. They're wonderful. So. All right, there we go. We've made everything for you, 3 easy recipes in about 35 minutes. Of course, I had chopping a little bit ahead of time, but if you think about this, everything could be purchased. You could purchase the onions already chopped. You can purchase, avocado, which is easy to do. So almost all these things that you're doing could all be purchased already in packages and ready to go. Especially if you have stores like Trader Joe's, Natural Grocers, Whole Foods, any of those. You can get all of this all ready to go. Then you just prep it up, put it in the oven or put it in, you're done, and it's ready to go. So thank you for joining me today. I so much appreciate it, and I so much look forward to your questions. This is fun, and it's very different. Everything I used to do was face-to-face. I've always used Meetup. They're absolutely wonderful, but I've actually reverted to more of the remote. So we've got lots of things that we're going to share with you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Kelley. That was wonderful. And great timing, too. Wow, you pulled it off. Amazing. So much time to see it. All looks delicious. You got me inspired with those potato nachos. I realized while you were talking, I have all of those ingredients at my apartment right now. So I think after we're finished up here, I'm going to go try it out. So before we jump into Q&A, we have a few things you shared with us that we can share with everyone, some best practices on what you need to pull off an amazing live demo like you just did. So, we recommend that for your equipment, microphone, phone stand, light ring, you're going to want to have a video conference platform like Zoom or Google Hangout. We had a lot of messages about where can I get those recipes just because they look so tasty. So you're going to want to have somewhere to store those and share with people. And then Snaps for Jerry, amazing video assistant, definitely going to help you out.
It's helpful.
Yeah, for sure. And then always helpful to have a dress rehearsal. We had ours yesterday. Food prep, as we saw with those caramelized onions and a few other things before the event. Definitely want to audio and video check. Stage your cooking area. As you mentioned, you're using like the convection oven in front of, so you don't have to have your back to the camera. Always you could invite special guest chefs and have fun, like I think we all did here today. So thank you. Let's dive into a few questions here. I think that we have to touch on the infamous caramelized onions. Yes. So if you were to add them instead of topping them at the end, what's the best time?
So you want to put the sun-dried tomato with the beans and stuff, the mixture there, so like almost like the hummus, and then you'll put the caramelized onions there, and then put the tortillas on top and stuff, and then you actually put them in your pan to heat them up. So that's where you want to go. So that way you're biting into those caramelized onions and the sun-dried tomatoes and all that. So I told you that's why you have to follow the recipes, because I will tend to sometimes forget one step. So it happens to all of us.
Gotcha. It happens. We're all human. Speaking. So then, once you heat it all, what type of pan are you using? Are you using non-stick, stick, stainless steel?
So I usually, in all my cooking classes, especially when I'm doing like the demos or I'm doing it the Cook With Me, everything's stainless steel. I have, and it's funny because it's actually just a home brand that I got from Amazon. So I could actually, if anybody's wanted, I could post it. It was probably, I bought like 4 sets and they were like $65 when I bought them. And there was like 8 pieces with this one. This one came with my induction burner, and this is just a New Wave brand. So it's just one of those perfect green, and it actually, you can tell it cleans up very well. I've used Bernays, I've used all kinds of different kinds. But most of the time, stainless steel. And it's that way too. If it gets a little stuck on there, you can use a little bit of the Brillo pads or one of those, and it just cleans everything up and they look great.
Awesome. Love that. I've been personally switched over to stainless steel recently. It's a little better. And also with the non-stick, you get into that tough territory of what is the stuff that's on it. It can be kind of harmful, which probably, Teflon, which might not go great with all the healthy foods and the focus on health that we have here with you. Let's see, we have a few more from people. So when you boil the potatoes, do you salt your water?
So when I just regular boiled potatoes, so the ones that I showed today for the tachos, those were just sliced up and they were raw. And then I just kept them in the water just because I didn't want them to brown before we actually showed them in the demo. But if I'm doing just regular, I'm gonna boil potatoes, I sometimes will add a little salt. A lot of times the stuff I don't. I just leave it out and then I will salt it if it needs it at the end.
Got it. Oh, and then we have a few people interested. Can we get one more quick plug for the spice brand that you like?
Yes, it is called Savory. So Savory Spice, it is, I have not, there's like Pinsies and all kinds of things out there. These guys, like even for cinnamon, they will actually ground everything. They've ground it fresh and then they put it in the stores, but they will actually ship it to you too. So I do this for Christmas presents and I'll send them the jars, but you can buy like, 2-cup bags, 4-cup bags, whatever you want to do. And I just keep those on my pantry. The door goes down to my basement and I have everything all lined up because I just refill these jars for $2 or $3 versus paying $8 to replace it. Saves a lot of money.
Yeah, spices can get pricey for sure. So always nice to have a workaround there. So I think we might have one or two more questions. So for people that are allergic to coconut, do you have any recommended substitutions there?
So flavor profiles. So if you don't like coconut, because that's gonna make it taste like an almond joy. But you could use like any type of dried fruit. I would probably recommend soaking the dried fruit just a little bit. You could actually do. Let's try and think what other things that you could add in there that would give you that flavor profile. Dried mango, nuts. I mean, pretty much anything you want. So if you don't want the almond joy flavor without the coconut, because some people like even in like the Veg Fest and stuff, they're like, you don't like coconut. Then I always made some that were like peanut butter flavored, and I rolled those in some kind of nuts. So there's all kinds of different things and stuff that you could add to that. But coconut's hard. There's not really anything that gives you that same flavor without being coconut. So I would just make it a different flavor. Just make it your own special energy bites.
Speaking of substitutes, you mentioned the cilantro thing. A lot of people, there's that gene or whatever where it tastes like soap. Any other fresh herbs you'd substitute for cilantro on your nachos?
So I would actually do, so depending on, you could actually make it more Italian, so you could do basil. You could do there's coriander, there's all kinds of different herbs that you can use that they're all kind of lined up. Chives is a great one. So chives, what I'll recommend is buy chives. Do not plant chives in your backyard unless you put it in a pot and you keep it away from everything else, because chives has seeds and they're beautiful, but then it goes all over your yard. Your whole entire backyard would be chives. So chives would probably be one of my favorite because it's going to get a little bit of onion flavor, but it also has that green flavor and it mixes really well with salsas and tomatoes.
Nice. We have another question. How often are you cooking online lately?
So we're doing it pretty much every week. So I've got my class that I do for, it's on Meetup. So it's Denver Healthy Plant-Based Cooking Classes when you look up that way. So we do that every 2 weeks. And I would share the recipes and we'll share anything we've done. We did heroes actually with jackfruit 2 weeks ago. They're absolutely wonderful. So we do those every 2 weeks and they're like 5:30 Denver time. And then I actually do for a couple other people that are nutritionists that are looking to bring cooking to their groups. I've been doing a couple of those every other week. So yeah.
Nice.
And then if we get, getting more popular, we'll add more. I love this. And I've got thousands of recipes, so happy to share.
Awesome.
Especially now.
Quick plug, what's the name of the group again, just for everyone?
So it's Meetup and it's Denver Healthy Plant-Based Cooking Classes. And we do it through Zoom, like what we're doing here. So yeah, if you go there, we advertise everything through Meetup. So we do online summits or nutrition classes or cooking classes. It's all there.
Nice. Very cool. I'm sure you'll get a lot more members hopping on there after this.
Love it.
Yeah.
It's fun.
If you don't have agave for that part, more questions about substitutes. I think that people, like you said, we want to make it our own. We can take it and kind of run with it. I think they just want that pro tip, insider knowledge. So what would you substitute with for agave?
Honey or maple syrup. Those would be the two that you'd want to substitute. Those would be the two that would give you that nice flavor and also make sure everything sticks together really well. So those would be the two I would use.
Very cool. And then really quick, so the induction, the stovetop thing, that works with all cookware, or I know you mentioned there it came with that pan. So is it specific for that, or can you use kind of whatever you want?
Yeah. So you can get induction burners and stuff that actually have the propane with it, and the propane and stuff, you can use it with any of them because it has a little burner. But be careful with those, because if you do cooking classes, do not use the open flame because they won't let you in stores. So these I've used. This one's actually New Wave. This is a great brand. Let me just turn it over. So you can tell it's very easy to use. So New Wave, NUWAVE. I got 3 of these for if you're going to start a cooking class. 3 of these for $99, which is cheap. That was cheaper than you can get anywhere like Amazon or anything else. They actually, if you buy a few of them, they sent me this, the Green Chef, or Perfect Green cookware. And if you have to make sure if you're using an induction burner, that it's an induction pan. So your pans on the bottom will need to be able to say induction ready. If you try to put something that doesn't, it won't heat up. You'll hear your induction burner going, but your pan will never heat. So just make sure you've got an induction pan that's ready for that.
Nice, good tip. Safety first in the kitchen for sure.
Don't do open flames. They will not allow you in places. That happens a lot.
Got it. And then one last question to wrap up real quick. How do you keep everything so clean when you're cooking?
So it's not staged now because you can tell that I've done it, but we always talk about that. I go through and I have things that I can put into baskets and stuff, but I stage this. So a lot of people say, gosh, you have a really clean kitchen and stuff, but it's wiped down, it's set up, the cookbooks are over there on the side, the flowers are added. I make sure that that's all set up and cleaned up. It's just easy to do, and I just kind of put everything behind where Jerry's on the camera. It's on the behind there, so I can have like my blenders or extra things I don't need. And then how do I keep it clean? I just, of course, as a chef, you just keep these rags here. And if you kind of like, if you're blending something, which happened to me and it had a lot too much liquid, of course it like overflowed in one of my classes. So I just took my towel and I just kind of lightly put it over there and nobody could see that I did that. I've actually set towels on fire in my class. So I've done that a couple of times when you have the open flame. So things happen. If you're going to teach classes, things happen, and you just make fun of yourself. You're like, woo! And then you like this, and like, see, this can happen to me. Or you set a wood spoon on fire. That happens. You just have fun with it and go with it. Absolutely. People love the.
All in the excitement of the moment, for sure. Exactly. Well, thank you so much, Kelley. This has been wonderful. Such a nice reprieve in the middle of the day, just to relax and think about yummy, delicious food. I will get back to you on how my potato nachos turned out. I will follow your advice closely. And thank you everyone for joining us today. You can view this recording and a recap of this event on our Community Matters blog at meetup.com/blog. And thanks so much, Kelley.
Thank you guys. Love you guys. Manja manja.